My name is Les Parker. I'm a conference coordinator, but I'm also a pastor. And I have a heart for what these guys are doing. And 2 years ago, we had a full-day workshop. A fellow came in from out of town. And my vision, though, was to try to draw local churches together. And it came out of that so that we could network, we could help one another, and we could expand the ministry of children with special needs through the church. Because so often there's so many roadblocks, all the way from your board of governors right down to who's going to clean the diapers out. And so I searched the web for churches that had ministries of children with special needs, and there are not a lot. But they're the ones I selected, and we've been in email contact. I have no idea what they're going to talk about, but if I can get their computers to go, they'll show you something, but they can also talk. I really want, as David said, we can show you all kinds of pretty things, but if you don't get your questions answered, I want them to interface with you more than look at pretty pictures or listen for me. So go for it.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about our history, and maybe that'll help a little in the course with questions that you may have. One of the individuals in our church had a vision for including special needs children and their families in our congregation.
Before each of you share, could you give us your name and your churches again?
I'll be glad to. I'm Teresa Harrington. And our church's name is First Baptist Church of Georgetown. And Georgetown is a very small town, and we are the largest church in that community. But she had the vision to embrace families and folks into our congregation. And so about 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago, she talked with our minister, and he said basically, and she's a very dynamic person and will not be undone no matter what the situation is. He said, find a location and find a space, and you can start. Well, our church is growing, and we were about to embrace a building campaign. We didn't have extra space for things, but we did have a prayer chapel. And of course, people were welcome to come and use it, so she decided to do that. With the Baptist denomination, it is a committee-run congregation. Of course, you have to go through those levels of organization and the people who have authority. And so it was going slowly, too slowly for her. So she contacted some families who came to church, but of course, a wife would come one Sunday and a husband would come the next, that kind of stuff, because they could not worship together. So she, in her dynamic way, elicited their support. Well, within a month, we had a location, and the ministry started with 5 individuals. And then from that, it has grown. It has grown. We started with one program that was for an hour. Within a month, we grew to have Sunday school and worship service. And then within a year, we needed more space. And so we got donations. The men of our church gave their labor, and we added on. And then about 2 years ago, we also added an after-school program from 2:30 to 3:30 to minister not only to folks in our church, but to our community as a continued outreach, a way to include folks. With the ministry, we started out as a special needs ministry, like self-contained. And then trained volunteers. We have about 30 to 40 volunteers. And they also trained them so they could shadow, because a lot of individuals need to be included in like a wine open, all right? A's and GAs and choir and youth group and those things. And so we do that on an individual basis. But that's sort of like an overview, if that is helpful.
Our story is similar in that I believe that God is
Give your name.
I'm sorry. My name is Samantha Thames, Cedar Creek Church, Aiken, South Carolina. I believe that God is tendering hearts all over the church for this right now, and I love that. Every time I hear somebody say that they feel like that God has put it on their heart to do that, then that, I do believe the church is waking up to this. We similarly started with a family that was in our church that we invited to come to church. They didn't want to come because they had bad responses in other churches in our community. But we got some people who the mother trusted to hang out with her son, and they started coming to church. And just to tell you, they went from unchurched to coming to church to being part of. We do home groups at our church. They're now home group leaders, and they're just such a huge part of Cedar Creek Church. And I want to show you, I brought a picture. I don't know if to do the PowerPoint or not, but this is the Stout. Their son Dustin has severe autism, and just hearing their story and how hurt they had been by the church, and I thought the church of all places to hurt people. No, we need to be opening our arms and loving, because that's what Jesus said that we're supposed to do. And I know for me, as I started looking into it, because I've never had any experience with anyone with special needs until I met the Stout. And so I started looking into what it meant to have these families, to feel comfortable and safe at our church. And I was just amazed by the statistics that I found, which you'll have in your handout. 1 in 5 people in the U.S. have a disability. Approximately 90% of those families do not go to church anywhere. And the number one reason is they don't feel accepted. The divorce rate is 80%, and only 5% of churches have any kind of specialized ministry. That's a shame. The church needs to be doing a better job than that. So through hearing this family story and how they felt, Cedar Creek Church was on a mission to change that in Aiken. And we're just so happy that there are people here also all over that God is working to do that with.
My name is David Watford. I'm the Associate Pastor of Children at Emmanuel Baptist Church in Hartsville. I have a little bit of a history of special needs. I worked with the Youth Advocacy Program of South Carolina through the early 90s. I was a shadow for foster at-risk children. I'd go into their academic environment. I'd walk with them. I'd talk with them. I'd help them communicate with their teachers. And a lot of them had AIDS and other shadows. So that was a challenge on my part. And I worked in activity therapy with the YMCA as well. And 90% of our clientele were special needs children. Not to mention my brother George is with me, and brother George has Down syndrome, and he's outlived. We were told he'd probably live into his early 20s. And you're how old, George? 32 years old. So he is really, in a sense, defied the odds. So having that experience as well, going to the Emmanuel Baptist Church several months ago, the staff, we were sitting there talking about this. The fact that, frankly, at one time, my mom did not want to take George out in public for 1 or 2 reasons. Either it was going to be a distraction, you didn't want to bother other people, or there was nothing to accommodate George being in a place, whether it be a church or even some of the public places. They're not very hospitable. It's not very receptive. And as a parent and as a brother, you're like, oh, okay, let's get out of here. You felt uncomfortable, like you were making everyone else uncomfortable. But the truth of the matter is, churches, like Jesus Christ said, hey, he can come to give everybody rest. Coming to me, he said, I want to give you rest. He didn't specify, just the wife. No, just the Baptist. No, just. He said it was a universal plea to come to him to give rest. So we sat down as a staff and we started talking about it. And we have a large Christian school at our church as well. How many special needs kids are within our church that are there? And your first, we count off like 4 or 5. Then all of a sudden, hey, what about so-and-so and so-and-so? Pretty soon we had a list of almost 20-some-odd children with some kind of special needs, whether ADHD or going across the board. And I'm thankful we have some of our members that have these special needs children here with us. And I'm going to get them to share their testimonies in a few minutes about, why Emmanuel? Why has your child been able to come and fit in? For instance, Margaret, her son Nick, how long have you guys been there?
3 years.
3 years. And Nick started off, was he in children's ministry when he first got there? But he started getting integrated into the youth group. And it was a little bit of a process. And I talked to the youth pastor, Justin, and we were talking about how it was a lot of training that had to be involved, a lot of individualized talking to with the students and with others. And we have a kid named Brandon Bell, who did grow up through the children's ministry and youth ministry at Emmanuel Baptist Church. And we didn't have anything designated, but our goal and our desire was to integrate these children into into the children's ministry and into the youth group. And then hopefully the trust to be able to talk about Madison. Madison, even though she doesn't talk, she has a trait. But you know what? She comes to Awana, Stacy sits in front of her and makes her sign her Awana verse, doesn't she?
If she feels like it.
If she's temperamental, all right?
They are. Make her head good.
Exactly. We have to work with her. But the thing of the matter is we place an emphasis on making sure those children feel comfortable. And what I love seeing is our children interacting with them and helping them be, even though Madison is in a wheelchair.
They all want to push.
They want to take turns, they want to help. And we're building on that. And Paige has Noah, and Noah just recently has been going through some issues with his eyesight. And seeing kids ask him, can I help you get to class? Can I help you do this? And seeing kids sit down with them and pray. And Noah's got the most awesome attitude of any child I've ever been around. I mean, we as adults could get around Noah, and he said, hey, listen, if God wants me to go through this, and let's figure out why. And if I don't get cured, as long as I get to talk to the doctors and pray with them as they go through this thing, that's so encouraging as he goes through these things. But what we've done, and collectively, is kind of help share that vision. At some point in time, you didn't have a plan. But I have a verse that I go to in Psalm 126. We were like those who dream, and the captivity of Zion returned. And listen, in Psalm 126, that's a great psalm. But the point is, hey, listen, people were hearing us laugh. Laughter was filling our mouths. And they were like, what is going on with those people? God must be in their lives. Something is going on over there. So the desire, whether it's our church or their church, is that eventually people are going to start taking note. What is going on at those churches that I need to be a part of, or I need to bring my child to, or I can be included, or where I can find out that my needs are being met there? That includes our special needs children as well. So at Emmanuel, we desire to integrate those children, and those methods we'll talk about in another seminar. But for the three of us, and being able to share a vision, that kind of sets the precedent for the vision. Now, like I said, it didn't just happen. You don't just wake up one day and go, we're going to start a special needs ministry in our church. It usually takes someone showing up with a special needs child, and for you to go, you need a classroom, huh? Hold on, let me get Les. He's going to be on the phone for just a second. Maybe he'll talk to you. But usually it takes something, a catalyst, to all of a sudden make you open your eyes and go, we need to do something here. And then that's when you come up with like the questions we have on some of the handouts and some of the statements that will be made also. So I think that's the vision from every single person in here, being able to share with you, here's what's going on in our churches. And I know each one of us has some kind of handout, and maybe we can do a quick overview of each handout. And then really our desire is to open it up. Like I said, I get so frustrated going these places where I'm sitting down going, I got questions. And then the person like myself talks the whole time and then gets up and let's go have orange juice. That's what I'll call it. That person doesn't like me because I'm the one behind it. Here, listen, you were talking about here. Let me hold the juice for a minute. I'll give it back to you when you answer my question. You're the one you didn't give me time to ask over there. So we'll give you time to do that in a few minutes. So Teresa, if you wanted to talk a little bit more about your
I'll be
handout.
glad to. Let me talk to you a little bit about the handout. It's a handout that has several things on each single page. It has a little bit about our mission. And we have an advisory committee made up of members and also parents. And one of our associate pastors is a non-voting member of that. That sort of keeps us all in line and gives us a direct connection to the decision makers of our church. And because basically our ministry is built on volunteers. Our church did hire several teachers to help with the aftercare program, the after school. But basically we are volunteer driven. But the mission is to minister spiritually, recreationally, and socially to special needs children, youth, and adults and their families. And basically, we want to be inclusive and welcome everyone into our congregation and welcome everyone into that extended God-given family. Tell you a little bit about the history. I'm going to let y'all read a little bit about that on your own. But it started like in 2006, and this has definitely been a journey for us. You learn as you go, and you just adapt. Okay? And don't y'all know about that? So no, you try something, it doesn't work. You go to one person, it doesn't work. You just don't give up because you know that this is something that is very important. And yesterday they talked about having extended people in your life that you can depend on. And we know that churches are full of people who love and who want to give and that you can depend on. And we want to extend that to the members of our congregation and our community. It tells you a little bit, you see a little bit of the pictures because of Vacation Bible School, and also we have a summer camp that we do for 2 weeks and sort of try to give respite to families. And it talks about our growth. We have been amazed about the growth that has occurred with this ministry and also bringing those families into our congregation. And y'all know that y'all are workers, and we need you. And certainly you come in with skills, and we learn from you, and hopefully we have something to give also. But God has gifted all of us, different ways, but all of us. And together we're stronger, and we can make a better community. With the other page, it also talks about our growth. On Wednesday, we also have a program for folks. We have family night supper, but folks come and they have kinder music. Our church pays for kinder music. We also have an adapted PE program, and the church pays for that. A week from Friday, we're going to start a martial arts program, and someone's going to come in twice a month and minister to our participants in that way. And what we want to do is we want to be a central part of these lives, and they certainly are a part of ours. It also tells you a little bit in the handout about our after-school opportunities. And there's a family that came to us and said, the mother came and said, if I can't find care for my son, I'm going to have to quit work. And we just couldn't let that happen. That's not okay. And her son is nonverbal, and in public school has someone basically one-on-one with him. And so we came to the committee and we thought, how can we solve this for this family? They were not part of our congregation, but we see everyone as potential to be part of some congregation. May not be ours, but certainly we want to spread that to whomever. And so that was the catalyst for the after-school program. We started off slowly. We started with 2 teachers, and then we have grown from that. But these are the kinds of things that we do with the after-school program. Starts with devotion. We also have like adaptive PE. We have tutoring, cognitive stimulation for those. We have life skills. We do a craft and music. We teach nutrition, and we carry over some of this stuff to parents too, because we have to partner with parents and guardians, because sometimes they're grandparents. We have one family that's the grandmother is the care provider. We do monthly field trips, and sometimes we are centrally located in town, so a lot of times we'll just walk downtown, get an ice cream or something when the weather's permitting. We have holiday banquets, and we provide monthly respite care for families. But that's the way that the aftercare, the after-school program works. On Sunday, it gives you an idea about the kinds of opportunities that the children have. You'll notice there are a lot of activities because, you know, you do a little bit and then you change the momentum of all that stuff. You know. So we have that for the folks who stay within Grace Church. Some folks do go out to Sunday school classes and other activities. Some folks do go to worship service with their parents, their families. But we basically fit the need of that family. So what we do is I'm retired from the school system. So I have literally attended thousands of IEP meetings. I was a guidance counselor. And so, and now I'm private practice. So what I try to do is take that IEP, I ask the family to bring the IEP, and we go through that, and we try to fit the needs of that child and that family with opportunities that our church has or that our church needs to create. Okay, so that's basically an overview. And if y'all have questions, we got to wait to the end or do those.
I have a question.
Yes.
You said at the beginning that you had like a family committee and a pastor was a non-voting member
Correct.
of that. So does the pastor have like veto power?
No.
If they come
No.
up with something like really wacko, or what? How does that work?
There's an associate pastor or a pastor. One of our church staff members is always a member of every committee. And for most of the committees, they're non-voting. So we've had some pretty wild ideas, but it matters how you present them. Okay, and it matters who you have present them. Okay, so we'll plant a seed, okay, and then we let it grow some. And sometimes we'll share the seed with the influential group of people in the church to help that grow. That's what you Brenda brought that out. Our church started a designated Grace Ministry Fund because, folks, I can't tell you how the community has embraced this. Oh, this is God at work. You know, I mean, you follow His lead is what you do. But we, had so much money in that. They were saying, like, how are we going to utilize this money? You know, what kinds of things can we do? And that helped us have this after-school program. And they have allocated money for a year from now with 3 teachers, guys, because of the generosity of folks. And we're able to take them like to the Dixie Stampede or Josh Turner concerts. We're not talking about just walking downtown and getting ice cream. We're talking about some wonderful opportunities for these folks that are just amazing and are so inclusive. But, and so now the church has said, we're part of the main ministry now. We're not really separate as far as the budget's concerned. We are part of the missions ministry of the church. And they have made a full commitment for us to continue. So we're not an add-on anymore. We're there. We're part of the foundation of the church. And that's God. Yes.
I have one question. You say here that you have 20 students between the ages of 6 and 53 on that Sunday and Wednesday cases. Do you find that a lot of your younger children are more mainstreamed, and do they go to this particular group?
Thank you for that. What we found is that as it grew, we needed 2 classrooms. And so we had an office, and our minister of students very graciously gave up his office and moved so that we could have that office. So our young people, our little ones, are in there, and then our older group is in the original prayer chapel, which was extended. We have a classroom, kitchen kind of combination, and then the chapel itself has church pews and things like that for folks who want to remain. It really depends on the disabilities that the folks have. We have quite a few disabilities, behavioral kinds of concerns, bipolar, ODD, that kind of stuff. And that's really professionally what I specialize in, behavior kind of things. And sometimes go Sunday to Sunday or Sunday to Wednesday, whatever's happening, with that person that day. You just reflect. But we find that most of the older ones are the ones who want to be integrated. Does that make sense? Because some of the younger ones are integrated anyway into some of their activities. So sometimes they might go to RAs and GAs and then come back to us. Sometimes if they're musically inclined, they might go to choir and then come back to us. We just sort of weave them in however they need to be.
What's an RA and a GA?
I'm sorry. RA is like Royal Ambassadors. It's like a youth.
A boys program, and GAs is a girls program,
Right.
where they focus on missions.
Right.
Okay.
Missions and memory work, Bible work. Thank you. I apologize for not clarifying that. And Awana is basically scripture-based for young folks, for them to be grounded in the Bible.
Could you please tell us a bit about your respite care, your monthly program?
What we do with the respite care is that, and it varies. Like in January, what we did, and we went and took the folks to the Dixie Stampede. With our respite care, we do not, parents are not welcome, obviously. So when we go on a field trip, parents are not welcome. They're supposed to stay home and trust us and let us do what we,
Your mom and dad, that
do.
will babysit.
So we do have parents who volunteer initially, but anyway. So we went to Dixie Stampede. This month what we're doing is we're doing a Valentine luncheon with our participants. And it'll be a week from Sunday. And so the parents will have several hours respite in that case. In March, we'll probably have something at the church in the fellowship hall. In April, we'll do something to celebrate Easter.
Is this always on a Sunday?
No, usually it's on a Saturday. The reason it is on Sunday is because our youth group is using our fellowship hall for activities, and they're doing a fundraiser for a mission trip that they're going to take during the summer. And in the summer months, what we do, like from May until September, the person who had this vision lives at the beach, right on the ocean. And so we go there and on a Saturday and swim and picnic and whatever. But
What are the hours of that usually on Saturday?
on a Saturday, it can be like 10 to 2, 10 to 4, depending. Every Christmas, what we do is usually in November, we have a full day of activity. And the idea is we usually have a clown to come in, and we do crafts and all those kinds of things. And that's to give the parents an opportunity to do their Christmas shopping.
What is the legal aspect of the special needs ministry as far as the children go? How do you handle that?
Well, they sign a statement, and thank goodness we have an attorney, an accountant, and all those insurance folks on staff. And they really have spearheaded all of that. I don't know the ins and outs of that. I do know that obviously that was a concern because we want everything to be just right. Our folks are trained with first aid and things of that nature. But I wish I could answer that more specifically, maybe one of these months. Since I'm not on the church staff, I don't really have that information. I apologize.
And do you share the children? Do you share them, or are they just included?
We do both.
Okay.
One is they have their own locations, and now the shadows are trained, obviously. The way we do the training is they come in with us and work with us. The person who had the vision also had a preschool, so she has 31 years of education experience. And we do have on our church staff folks who've been special education teachers and things of that nature. So those folks have been very generous in sharing their expertise. So basically what we do is we look at the needs of that individual and try to do it that way. And then a lot of
So you don't have a sweat check on everybody that's volunteering in the program?
not that's volunteering, but they can come in and volunteer like one time. But yes, the folks that work with our children, but that's church policy. That everyone, and the church pays for that sweat check.
I'm just gonna ask, are you able to transport wheelchairs? Do you have those?
What we do is folks who have wheelchair accessible vans, we borrow those,
Okay.
and they let us do that. A person donated a wheelchair accessible beach vehicle, and so that stays at Miss Peggy's home, and so folks, folks that are wheelchair bound are able to go on the beach also.
What are the sizes of each of your churches? Approximate parishioners? Are they large churches, small churches? I know you talked, some of you have talked about multiple campuses.
Our congregation attending is like 600. Now that may not seem very large to you guys, but in our little community, that's pretty large. We're the largest church in Georgetown proper.
What about
Our main campus, we have about 3,000 members, but we have two campuses. That West Campus is about 350, and I say the Ridge is about 200. So we have kind of big
And our church is a similar size, about 5,600 on Sunday morning. We have several ministries, Spanish ministry, all those other things also. So yeah.
Do you all have any tips for smaller churches that might not have the number of volunteers that you all have?
One thing I was noticing while we're up here is, and I was talking to Les about this about a month ago, is the fact that each church is in a different mode, right? Our church this is getting started kind of stuff. We've been a year at most into it, and you guys had a little bit more experience. And some of the things that you guys are talking about, how do we secure a van that we need to get people? What about liability? How do we? We have a church lawyer. We do SLED. We do background checks on anyone that comes in contact with any child at any period of time gets a background check. And it doesn't matter if it's grandma's mama's mama. That's okay. You still get a background check. So that's imperative. That's important. Even small churches, because I came from a huge church into a smaller church. Now I'm at a decent-sized church. But even at the smaller church I was a part of, we did background checks as well. And you'll be amazed, and you guys will probably emphasize this, that the people that don't realize your church has this need, but when you start promoting it and talking about it, you've got someone that's sitting out there going, that's me, I can't teach, I can't talk, but I can do that. So you will find someone, but you've got to promote it, you've got to talk about it. We're very fortunate. We have a lot of medical professionals at our church. We have a few, like in Madison's Awana group, there's a pediatrician, and my wife's a nurse, and she's right next door, and we have doctors, and we have special needs teachers, and we have all kinds of. You don't know that until you start talking about it, and someone says, I just found out recently, someone in our church is along that line, and I said, really? You are? I didn't know that. You don't strike me as that.
And you'll find sometimes, too, that as a smaller church, our Grace kids at our West Campus, which is our small, they have gotten kids like that, and at a faster speed than our bigger campus. And I think it may be that it is a smaller church, and it's not as intimidating to go into.
So how did you get all, probably your question too, getting the volunteers? Did you go through each particular ministry, like children's ministry and youth ministry, and get those pastors, or if you have specific pastors for those ministries on board, and then have them train, like the youth, or train? And did you shadow youth, or is it all adult shadowing? How do you do that?
We have the whole gamut. And in the next workshop that we have is really the methods on how to get in your church and find out who you didn't know is an occupational therapist, or was a teacher for so many years, or whatever. But really
No, go ahead. I'll just ask a question when you're done.
And if I can say that, one thing that we've learned is every special needs ministry is unique to its church. We can share our ideas with each other and what we think it ought to be, but every special needs ministry takes on the personality of its church and meets the needs of its church. And one thing that we say is we don't do it the right way or have all the answers, but we do it the way that works for the people in our community. So I think your ways even of getting people on board, could be different. And this book, I don't know if can I ask, how many people in here have a special needs ministry at your church? Okay, and so how many of you are here to get that going? You're the one that got it. Yeah, okay, that's awesome. I highly recommend this book, Special Needs, Special Ministry. We've had it from the very beginning of getting started, and again, some of the things that are in here we don't do, didn't work for us, but a lot of things did. Yeah, and so you get it on Amazon, and it is very valuable.
Who's the author?
It's got 3 authors, Jim Pearson, Louise Tucker-Jones, and Pat Verbal. I don't know if any of you get the Children's Ministry magazine, but Pat Verbal has a column in that every month on children with special needs and special needs ministry. So,
I was going to say, Children's Ministry website has, I don't know, it was like 4 months ago, had this book, they have a panel, and they highlight certain books, and they highlight special needs, special ministry several months ago.
And I pull this out all the time whenever we're...
How long has that book been around?
We've had it for 4 years, so it's copyrighted.
Yeah. You guys familiar with Group Ministry? You heard of Group Ministry? That's the main street, right? That's Group, correct?
And anything you can get your hands on by Jim Pearson.
Yeah, Jim Pearson is very good. And like she's saying, this is an overall vision, and that's a great point that each church as individuals, each church has an individual vision. But this is kind of like to get you trim into it, or maybe even get you start like get on that motorcycle and get it cranked up. You know, one push and it's going. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 to get it going. But whatever it takes, just get a vision and get a passion for it.
I wanted to know what anybody consistent of when y'all have new children come in. Do they sit down with one person, that family, kind of see what their needs are? You said something about you look at the IEP, if you're willing to bring that in. What kind of system do you have in place to sort of kind of know about a child before you place them in that? How our workers can work with them?
What we do is we take if we have a vision or I meet with that family. And we don't always have the IEP, like if they come on Sunday or Wednesday, we just welcome them, and then, we start with them there, and then ask for the more specific information when they return. And then we basically, one of us will stay with that child, even though they, may be involved in an inclusive situation, and bring another young person in. Does that make sense? I mean, we, she or I, will be in charge of that child. And then we'll transition that at that point. Because we've made the commitment to that family that we're going to take care of that child.
And it's
Or that young person.
And communication is effective. We're going to talk about the methods in a few minutes where, a person has to sit down and be honest. And the thing that you'll find is a lot of parents or a lot of guardians want their child to be included, and you can't go, well, I see your child has a need. Like I'm putting my members on the spotlight with Tressa. Sit down with her. Okay, tell me what's Madison's need, what's Nick's need, and what's great is as parents they don't mind sharing. Okay, here's what you need to know about my child, and don't be afraid to have a dialogue with the parents, or the guardians, or those working with them. That will get you a long way, as opposed to guessing. What's wrong? What you think? Well, I've read a book, so I'm going to go approach it this way. No, that doesn't always work. The parent knows more than the book.
I am going to will though sometimes have people that know that you have a special needs ministry and they'll bring their child, but they won't tell you what's going on. And that's where your people that you find out that have training are very valuable. We do have a couple of kids who, unfortunately, their parents don't communicate with us. But we want them to have the best Sunday morning they can have, or the best whatever outreach thing we do. So we do the best we can without offending that parent. And we've seen a couple of relationships where the parents grew to trust us and then shared some information. We have an information packet we give people because we have where you can get in touch with us before you come, or you can just show up. We give them an information packet. We ask them to bring it back to us. And on the first day that they're there, we'll usually have a shadow, and then the coordinator that's on that day kind of hang out with them and just kind of observe what's going on.
And getting those parents to help talk to each other. We have a Amy in here.
She's over there.
Anyway, kids. These guys came together, and that helps. I know if someone comes to our church with a special needs child, like you say, maybe the parent doesn't want to communicate even though I've attended, I'll say, Amy, do you mind going up and talking? Maybe you know her. Maybe through one of these conferences you had, or maybe she can say something to that dad or mom that I would know how to approach. And I'm just being honest. I mean, I don't know everything at all. My wife thinks I do, but I don't. So I will get one of our parents to go up and start talking to these parents who maybe isn't willing to communicate initially up front. And that builds bridges as well.
When you get a new volunteer, do you train them or do you reach out to someone else to train?
We usually train them, but I have some special needs training specialists. So, and then also when they come in, like we usually ask them to come on Sunday or Wednesday, and then we have a core group of volunteers who volunteer week after week, and so we integrate them that way. And then before they sort of venture on their own, we know they're ready. And we want them to feel confident and really good about the service they're providing too, because that's very important. And sometimes, you come in and that's not the ministry for that person. And that's okay. It's good to know that too, but you look for that fit.
And again, that's where your professionals and your parents are so valuable, because that's how we got our training. We went to those people and we said, tell us how to take care of a child with special needs on Sunday morning where their parents feel comfortable and the kid loves coming here. And that's how we wrote a training by a collective group of people. And like I said, your parents are so valuable in this. Because, they can tell you. And I mean, we do, like she said, we had situations, we had Dustin, as a matter of fact, he didn't do well with a female shadow because he related a female to being told what to do all the time. He loves male shadows. They are the best of both. He has two. We rotate Sundays, so they're every other Sunday. But, you find out also not just that the person may not be able to serve, but that this shadow might not be good for that kid. You want to do you want to do what's best for the kid.
I know y'all have questions and stuff, but I'm getting a little nervous at running out of time. I want to hear more about your program and your program, and just, in the business context.
Well, and like David said, this is so true. As you're getting started, kind of your vision, what you want to accomplish, that is so important, because that will help you to get started. And when you do go to your church leadership, if you're not staff or church leadership, you already have together what you're asking for. For Cedar Creek Church, because we have our ministry for children with special needs, but we also have a deaf ministry. Our vision is to make the church accessible to all people with special needs and their families, and help nurture their spiritual growth through a relationship with God and His Son Jesus Christ, and with other people, in community. That's what we work off of as far as what we hope to accomplish. Our ministry to our children is called Grace Kids, and that word Grace is, and that's an acronym for God reaching all children everywhere. I mean, we believe that every child is valuable to God, and every child has purposes, and a thing we say at our church a lot is we're better together. We believe that we are better when we're all together, and the families that we have in our church, they make us better. For Grace Kids, inclusion means that children, participate with their peers, with the shadow in worship. Our children have their own worship they go to, and then they go to a classroom and do their small group time. And then we have a Grace Kids classroom where they may hang out with the shadow, and there may be a couple of kids in there. We have a couple of booths in there, and if we need to turn the lights out, we do that. We look at every child individually, and we also look at every individual Sunday. One Sunday may be fine for kids worship and for Sunday school, and another Sunday is not. That's fine. You go in the Grace Kids room and hang out, and we just say whatever it takes for each child. Again, you saw the statistics. Some of those came out of this book, but that to me was just heartbreaking that the church wasn't doing a better job, and that's what got us going. We believe that every person is valuable to God, and that He created everyone with purpose. And this is a scripture we use a lot at Cedar Creek Church for talking about why we deal with different things, so God's glory can be shown. As He went along, He saw a man blind from birth. The disciples asked Him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus. This happened so that the work of God might be displayed in his life. We have seen God do amazing things at Cedar Creek Church and in our community through us all just being together, being part of each other's lives. We believe we're living out the Great Commission that is all-inclusive, and that's why our program is inclusive, and we believe that the church should be accessible to everyone. Again, this is the Stouts. Like I said, they're just a family that we saw that went from brokenhearted by the church to just being very active and reaching out to other people and sharing the name of Jesus because of what's happened in their lives. And the question that Les sent out about our future plans, we are always looking for ways to be active in our community. We always want Sunday morning to be available, but we try to look for ways to be involved in our community and in the lives of children with special needs and their families. We do a parents' night out, kids' fun night once a year around Valentine's Day. We give parents some type of resource, whether it's a couple or single parents. It's just something that as parents they can, like a little date brochure, they can ask each other questions, and we give them gift cards to go out to dinner, and then we play with their kids for 3 hours and their siblings. Give mom and dad. We have single, like with the divorce rate, we have single parents. We give them an opportunity to go do something and have some downtime. Tiffany is the founder and director of a week-long camp in the summer called Camp Puzzlepalooza for children with autism. We went from, how many first year? 25, and this is the fifth year. Last year we had 73 kids. And just a week long? Yeah. We have to rest for a week.
Did you say it's just a week?
That's from a parent. And we do something called Parents Brunch, where we love on mom and dad or grandma or whoever during that time. We have a movie day. We have I don't know what all. We do craft day. Just come and hang out and eat. Yeah, we just try to really. Our college baseball coach in Aiken for the Pacers, he does a camp one Saturday a year just for kids with special needs, and we always have 3 to 4 volunteers to every one kid that we have there. People are just love that day. And we always just look for opportunities that we can get out and do life, with families and show them the love of Jesus. We've all been loved by Jesus and are where we are now, and He wants to share that with everyone. We have about 25 children. We have about 60 volunteers. We try to do 2 shadows per child, and then that way they rotate Sundays. So one's their first and third, one's second and fourth. And then we have people like Tiffany is an early intervention specialist. So at her campus, she's kind of the person, like when someone new comes, she'll talk with the family, meet the child, and then she works with her volunteers to set up shadow schedules and things like that. So.
Just listen, the whole idea is this. The ministry must have a vision for special needs ministry before you even start a plan. You got to see it first. It's been well said that when Disney World, which is in Florida, was open, Walt Disney had died just a couple years before, and his widow was there. And the guy said, "Too bad Walt wasn't here to see it." She goes, "But he did see it." So he did see it ahead of time. And I just watched. I love Walt Disney. I did a book report when I was in middle school, and I've always liked Walt Disney. And it's just fascinating the visionary that he was and things that he saw before they even became fruition. So that's the same idea you have to have for your special needs ministry. Is what do you already see? So 5 basic questions. And listen, this is nothing new under the sun, and this is the truth here. Because I got this idea many years ago at a seminar I went to that wasn't even a special needs seminar. It's just, hey, in your children's ministry, here's some 5 questions you got to ask yourself. And ask everyone, including your congregation and staff people. First of all, who has a ministry? Or who has a need in your ministry that you can meet? Who has a need in your ministry that you can meet? And you, like we just said, you may never know. Sometimes there may be already a family in your congregation that has a special needs member, child, whatever, and has not said anything public about it or doesn't know because perhaps they don't know how to bring it forward. Perhaps they don't know how to approach you about it. So what better opportunity than to say, hey, we got a special needs ministry here. We're gonna promote this and talk about it. So who has a special or who has a need your ministry can meet? Like I said, Latressa, you came with Madison. I remember the first time talking to you. You're in the back, and do you mind sharing? Why did you first come to Emmanuel?
I was looking at the newspaper because I was trying to find a church to go to because I was going with her grandparents to their church, but I was going to church in Florence before and we didn't feel welcome. And I was looking at the newspaper and they had a international children's choir that came to sing at Emmanuel. We came, and my baby, she likes music. She just likes anything that's noisy. And we came, and we've been going back ever since, and we felt welcome.
Do you mind sharing a little bit about Madison?
Madison has something called Piper syndrome. She's 5 years old, but she's about this tall, and it's a bone fusion where her bones are fused. But she has type 2, and it's like her fingers, her elbows, they are fused, like she's in this and her knees. But she's beginning to walk with a walker, but she has a trach and a G2 and a shunt. She has all that, and she's nonverbal. She speaks. Like, she does a few signs, and we go to Awana on Wednesday night, and she'll do some of the signs, but she has her own personality. And if she does not feel like doing it that day, like if she's just starting to hold her head up, so if she does not feel like doing it, she'll hold her, do this, or do something else, so she won't have to do it with Miss Stacy.
But it goes back, like we're saying, train your workers. Stacy will sit there and be patient with her.
Yeah, she will.
But she'll say, Madison, you're going to do your verse.
And we were accommodated because Madison's in a wheelchair, and her wheelchair, like the tables are all smaller, but at first day, the next time we came, we had a desk.
Right. Being honest, it was just a matter of being unprepared. We were not prepared to meet her need. But after that first time,
we had our desk, and every time we go in there.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, how about Tyler?
He has Asperger's syndrome. He's just been diagnosed, and he has sensory issues really bad. So we have a hard time just getting him out in public and being calm where he can interact.
But he's involved in our children's ministry at Emmanuel as well. So like I said, I could sit here and point out several other members that we have here that you're like, wow, man, really? So who has a need in your ministry? What do we want to do about it? What do you want to do about it? That's your next question you have to ask yourself. I mean, what do we want to do about it? I mean, do we want to say, hey, we can't come here, but I know a church you can go to? Or would you rather say, we got something here to meet your need? You have to educate yourself and be receptive. Those are two things that come to my mind. There's a lot more to say about that, but over the last several months, I've been going to several conferences and other things as we really get this thing going and getting connected, meeting people. See, this is my new connection right here. And this is. So they're going to say, oh, Steve again. So I'm leaving the stick down. And see, because I need to be educated. I need to make sure, we want it to be effective and efficient and successful. So I want to know the people who have already been successful doing this. So you're in a place where you're getting connected. So here's your connection again. So don't leave without, oh, that was great, let me get my Jell-O. Come in here, get some people, find some phone numbers, exchange cards, whatever you need to do. But what do you want to do about it? Educate yourself and be receptive. Where are we now? Where are we now? How far along are you when it comes to your ministry as far as being receptive to special needs children? And again, like I said, we had a staff meeting. We kind of sat down and thought, are our facilities up to date? How about our training? How about this? How about that? We had a training set up. Remember we had that snow? You guys remember that snow? And we had a lady that was going to come in and do our special needs training, but whoops! All that big white stuff that kind of got in the way. So we just have to reschedule that, and we're going to eventually get it in. But we have to decide, we know that as quality as some of our people are, that we have other teachers that have honestly said, I don't know what to do when so-and-so comes in my classroom. And it's okay. I mean, it's okay for them to be a little concerned because they're being honest with you saying, in other words, I need training, I need help. So we're going to do that. And it's not that hard to get training, to find someone that will come into your church, no matter what size of church either. I mean, as a matter of fact, one conference I went to was in Whitmore, South Carolina, and that church probably ran 100, maybe 110. And there's about 10 or 15 adults, some parents and others in there that were just in there asking questions, getting knowledge, finding out. So it's not that big of a challenge if God wants to do it in your church. Where are we now? So how far along are you? When can we do this? When can we do this? It goes back, how soon can you get your people trained? Are you willing to love the people that are going to come to your church if you promote it? Are you willing to say, oh, we have a special needs ministry, but we can't do anything with that? And you have to realize, you have to be, like Jesus said, hey, listen, it didn't matter. I think it's awesome when it tears me up when the man with the leprosy came to Jesus and said, if you want to, you can heal me. And he said, I will be healed. And he touched him. He touched him. He didn't wait for the man to touch him. He reached out and touched the man. So it takes a touch. So what is your touch on the community for those with special needs? And you got to be willing to say, it doesn't matter what they look like, how they smell, what they do. It doesn't matter. You're going to love them anyway. So when can we do this? You got to get trained and get willing to do it. And why would we? Why would we? I just pointed out a few minutes ago, Brother George, and how tentative my mom and my parents were going out in public. But what we do find is parents are getting more educated through seminars like this, and they're willing to say, let's go find a church to go to. Let's go find some place we can take our children and go worship as a family. And it might be your church. It might be a place where you are, because they're coming. They're no longer keeping their kids away, and they're getting more progressive as far as getting out. Like I said, with our members and again with Latressa's testimony of coming and seeing, and she was actively looking where she could go. And all around here, I can probably tell a story of someone that came to your church because they were looking to get their children involved in special needs ministry. So those 5 questions I think you really have to consider and think about as you look to build a vision. I don't know if I have anything else. So, yep. Who has a need? What to do about it? So where are we now? But those questions you just have to ask yourself and sit down and start planning and start plotting and start praying and asking God. More than anything, the prayer is the most important part. Because you can be all ready and everything, but God's got to be the one to send them to you. So that's, in a nutshell, that's it.
Is there any way to find churches that have this ministry?
There is, like Les was saying, he went online, newspaper. Sometimes you have to pick up the phone and call. We've had people call our church and say, you guys have a special... We have a separate God Special People meets, and they're actually bussed in. How many bussed in? They're bussed in from around the area. They pick up adults with special needs and bring them to a classroom, and they have 60, 70 people in there. So they come from all different areas because our church provides opportunity for them to come in there. But it started kind of building several years ago. So I think they called our church initially, if I'm not mistaken.
With getting someone to train, where did you said it's easy, but where did you go?
I picked up the phone and started calling the mental health, South Carolina mental health, what is it, South Carolina Disabilities Program, and just started calling and saying, hey, could you give me some direction as far as this is concerned? And we have a school, and our teachers have to get accredited training, and you have to be, I call it SC to the 4th power. What do we say it was?
I tried to explain it. SCDD.
Yeah, right. You have to have this big, long acronym, and I thought you could have come up with something better than that. But anyway, we have to try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, trying to get our teachers trained along with our children's workers as well. But you could just start. I just started calling around, and Shannon's coming to our church in the future to train on disability awareness. So this is my connection right here at this conference. So, like I said, getting around.
I just want to encourage parents. I don't know if everyone here is even in a church, but the thing to do, you said, God is tendering hearts more and more at this time. Even people with elderly parents in churches today, they're more aware because of Alzheimer's, everything. So their hearts are more there than ever. We who have children with special needs, don't stay back and stay home and look. I mean, go to a church in your area. Just try it. Just see. But people are more welcoming today than ever. And I do think God is working on people. Disabilities are more out there.
Right.
People are touched.
And not only being more aware, like we were just talking about, the people you don't know who are willing to do something. We have a small but highly esteemed college in our town, and Dr. Wyatt, who is the president of that college, goes to our church, and they graduate some awesome people. And so we got together when we started talking about special needs, and they have an education course out there, and they have to take special needs training also. So we're trying to figure out, okay, how can we get some of those students to help get involved with our church, get them over there to do some volunteer work and things like that. So you never know what resource God's going to bring into your church for these things. So I mean, here we are having the Dr. White.
Speak volumes. I mean, take those statistics to
And if I can say to you, that's what, those of you who are starting, and I'm going to tell you, I got lots of no's in the beginning because they didn't understand. You take those statistics, like David said, you pray, and you watch God turn those no's into yeses. We watched it. And honestly, I think that was such a good learning experience because the more they didn't understand, and they weren't, and they didn't, it was just they didn't understand what I was asking for and what I was saying. But I watched, when I knew God was telling me to do this, I watched Him work it out. And so just, you present it, and if you get told no, don't give up. Go back again. Show them the statistics. Show them the Bible. If you're in church, you ought to be listening to that.
I have a 5-year-old daughter who is autistic, and when we started attending the church that we're at, we put her in a Sunday school class, and we said, she is very quiet. She will escape. You have got to watch her. Well, before they knew it, she was out in the gym playing. So the next week when we got there, they had baby gates on every door. And they said, please don't take offense. We said, we don't. We put one on her door when we go to bed at night because we will hear it move. The baby gate stopped the adults from walking into the room to pick up their children. It served a dual purpose. This year, her Sunday school teacher, who is probably 78, 79 years old, he walks in the room, picks up a marker, writes on the wall. Miss Betty says, we don't write on the wall, we write on a piece of paper. Then she says to us, why does she write on the wall? Because she likes to wash the walls, and if the walls are dirty, she has something to do. So once Betty understood the reasoning behind what she was doing, when Dee walks through the door, she looks at Miss Betty and says, we write on paper, not on the walls. And Betty says, yes, and here's your paper. So it is, the adults are more than willing to work with them, but they need to learn why the child is doing what they're doing. And it's not that the child is being disruptive. There's a reason that they're acting that way. And as far as getting volunteers, when we had Vacation Bible School, my wife and I were both teaching, and we said, we need somebody to shadow her. And we just went and asked people, are you available to shadow her? And the pastor's daughter said, yeah, I'll do it. So she was there every night working with her on the field, shadowing her. Just find somebody that you think is capable of doing it and saying, this is why I need you to do it. Is it possible for you to give me a few hours out of your life this week?
And what you'll see is those relationships between those children and the people that care for them grow, and it is an amazing thing.
Now, in our church, I know of at least 2 autistic children, and I know of at least 3 others that are on the autism spectrum somewhere. We don't have a special needs ministry officially, but I know it's there because I know those kids. I know that those kids are included in everything. So now I have the ammunition to go back and say, can we make this real? Can we put in place stuff? Because if you build it, they will come.
And if your church has a website and you get to a point where you're confident, promote it. Just people, listen, tech savvy. Don't underestimate parents who get on the internet to see, like what Leslie's doing, to see does your church have a special needs ministry.
And that's what I was going to ask. Dual purpose, I guess. We have 3 boys, and our oldest 8 is special needs, and also a pastor's wife of a small church. So we have the ministry in our own family, I guess. And like his church, we don't officially have a special needs ministry at our church, but we have, I can think of at least 6 kids that have pretty profound special needs. But with a smaller church, we're the problem. We have a hard enough time getting volunteers to do the regular kids thing, that I don't see us at this point being able to do a separate special needs ministry. But the teachers at our church are really good. Most of our special needs children are able to be included in everything that we do. But with that, when you get to the point that you can do a special needs ministry, what was your first step as far as promoting it? Did you do flyers? Did you go to your special needs schools? Did you start with your websites? Where did you start? Or did you not? Did one just tell the next one and they came?
That's how ours is all word of mouth, but then when we do our outreach things, we use those outreach things as opportunities to invite. And honestly, I'm going to tell you that getting people to cover just your classes, that's every church. Our church, as large as our Batesville campus is, we have that issue. But every Sunday, God works it out.
Let me ask you, a problem we've had is like, so you've got two siblings, one has ADHD, but not severely medicated. The child does pretty good, but some Sundays she can sit in church, some Sundays she can't. But she's got a brother who doesn't understand why sister doesn't have to sit in church, but he does. How do you handle those kind of things? And have you had that come up? Because I know we would have that come up. I can see that.
We have not had that, so
Well, we have twins. They're not twins. They just Ian and Colin. Oh, are they? Okay. And how? I mean, that one has special needs and one
doesn't. Yeah. And actually, Ian's the one that has autism, and Colin doesn't. And Colin actually appreciates the fact that somebody's kind of helping out with his brother, and he actually prefers not to be near them because they're twins, so they have to do everything together. So, I mean, Colin's part of that family unit too, though, and that's what Grace said. Yes, the child with a diagnosis is obviously going to be your main concern initially, but I mean, we really do try to focus on the whole family unit and how the whole family is impacted by things and what we can do to better serve them. So. It's just sometimes an extra loving touch with that other sibling, just keeping them in mind.
Hey, Paige, how does, with your kids, you have Noah who's got some things going on. How does his sister handle it?
It was a big adjustment. My son just recently started losing his vision, and my daughter's extremely bright, very what you would call a normal kid, and she really didn't understand why he was getting letters from all the churches in town, and why every time somebody saw us somewhere, they would say, "How's Noah?" It was really a big adjustment for her at first, and so I just explained to her that she has rheumatoid arthritis. She's like, "I have a disease too. Why isn't people sending me cards? And why doesn't people stop in the grocery store and pray for me? I don't understand." So I explained to her what the word urgent meant. I said, his disease is urgent at the moment. I said, yours is under control, or you are mentally capable of calming yourself or sitting quietly, or noise doesn't make you crazy where loud noises just give him instant migraines and he's insane. And just explaining to her, because she's extremely intelligent, just explaining to her what urgent was and that you have to immediately take care of that. She's like, "Oh, I get it." But I try to include her when somebody says, "Can we pray for Noah?" And I'm like, "Would you include Caroline in that?" Arthritis is really hard this winter.
And you would attribute her bright intelligence to the children's minister and at the church.
I come here kind of from two perspectives. One is the parent of a child with autism who has been through the rejection from a church community, and also as someone who is trying to help facilitate now special needs ministries. We're hearing a lot of really great programs that you all have had, and I want parents to also understand that sometimes you won't get past that no, and sometimes you might have to go somewhere else, and that's heartbreaking, but it happens. Sometimes that church just doesn't have that heart. And then for those working in special needs ministries, when someone comes to you, realizing that that person might be broken, what they may have gone through. I mean, when you feel rejected by God's family, that's about as bad as it can get. So I guess kind of understanding all the way around, it's not going to happen everywhere, although we hope and pray it would. but we just have to keep trying and praying.
But it can change.
Yeah, it's
With
like-
people like you and people like
Right.
you, people that are here that do, I mean, and that,
Yeah.
I think what it takes is for somebody to hear that story, because that's what it took for me, is for me to hear a family that was broken because of being rejected by the church. And so, I think, like we said, the church is waking up to this and how we've done a bad job at this. But I do think that, you know, my prayer is that people everywhere, God be in their lives.
Two questions. Well, one's a statement, one's a question. The one statement is for the ladies that were asking about the other siblings. Ask that WC Hokie, because there's some other class in here we had this weekend about a sibling, because I have the same thing. I have a daughter with special needs and a granddaughter who's 3.5. And the grandson is 5, so he knows she has special needs, so he's sympathetic to that he probably needs that kind of, resources they have through the family connections through that WC Hokie.
Yeah, Hecker. WC Hecker.
Yeah.
In fact, he's here today.
He's here today.
He did a session yesterday on
Yeah, he
respite.
did it yesterday. And then they said they had a special needs beach buggy of some sort that lady keeps at house at her house. You have to approve for the insurance. I know that church is paid. Now to be concerned about insurance. But it wasn't an individual that decided to insure that, or a group decided to insure that vehicle to carry those people for that trip, you know what I'm saying?
I wish I could answer the question, but I don't know that.
I'm just waiting.
She probably does. The lady that parks it in her house, she's probably a church.
I'm not certain how that happens. I do know, like, when we go on trips, we go on the church van for those folks who are able to travel that way, and the parents who have wheelchair accessible vans, they loan those to us, and drive those. I'd be glad to give you my email address, or you can share it with me, and I'll get that answer, get back with you. But I'm just not sure. Yeah, I just don't have the answer. But I do know that our church has been very meticulous about having everything crossed, everything dotted the way it needs to be, because that's what everybody deserves. And you want to provide quality services, not only direct services, but you want to have everything just so, because that's what folks deserve. And we have a very involved church and people who have those that expertise, just like you said, in your church, and I'm sure you do too. That's what they do, and they just take care of that for you, and you're just very grateful.
Just ask. I'm not ashamed to go up and ask someone.
I'm not ashamed to say, I don't know, help me.
I have to start asking about shadows.
I have a question on shadows, whatever, because I've heard this before. I have a 3-year-old daughter with Down syndrome, and you talk about you have maybe peers, but also adults, or like with a 3-year-old, I mean, I obviously wouldn't get a peer. I mean, what age would you start looking to, maybe a youth or an adult? Because they do have a Sunday school class for 3 years old. But I usually put her in the nursery because I also have a child that's 2, so they stick together, And I thought, I don't know that I'm ready to put her in a 3-year-old, but it's,
Now, what we do is we have asked for volunteers. So in our church bulletin, we just ask for whoever wants to help.
Okay.
And so we have an exceptional young lady who's been helping. She's very helping. She was about 10. Y'all, God has put on her heart to love special needs folks. And she had gifts beyond, you can't even imagine the gifts that she had. And she's also started doing that in school. So that's as young as we have, but most of her youth and some